something. Girl, it's what I heard. Allegedly, it's just the word. Allegedly, it's on the street. Allegedly, I sing to the beat. Allegedly, lee, lee, lee. Allegedly, lee, lee, lee. Allegedly, lee, lee, lee. Allegedly. Allegedly, it's just the word allegedly. It's what I heard allegedly. It's on the street allegedly. I sing to the beat allegedly. Allegedly, allegedly, it's what I heard allegedly. It's just the word allegedly. Don't blame, don't sue allegedly. It won't help you allegedly. Allegedly. Hello, and shimmy on in the room. I didn't feel quite complete with the conversation we had, and I'm beginning to realize why. This conversation about Kenya is larger than just the incident with Britt at hand. Garcelle just left Housewives of Beverly Hills on a high note, on her own terms. And Kenya, we are watching you scratch and claw to get back on the Bravo titlet. The titlet. And it just really shows that this, this is a message to the Kenya fans. We love Kenya, and we want her to succeed, which means being able to leave the show on a high note and be okay. Not having one of your last scenes, oh, I'm deep in debt and begging and pleading. That ain't the look, sis. That is not the look. The look is being Garcelle, having a production company, having other jobs. During this break, this hiatus, we didn't see much of you at all. Where are your acting gigs? I mean, we got Candace Dillon. She got out here with her thimble full of voice and became the first lady of Bravo Records. First lady. She stays booked. She keeps City Winery mother frickin' open like legs. She keeps City Winery open. She always got a backup dancer on call, always hitting a rehearsal. I mean, what are you doing? You had that pilot straight off your first season or maybe your second, and that was cool. That was cool. We want to see Kenya, the producer. We want to see that. Oh, just pulled up to Bojangles. Bojangles. Oh, God. Oh. I'm eating rice and trying to be happy about brown rice. Brown rice. And you're at Bojangles. God. Anyway. Kenya, where's your podcast? Even Giselle, even Jizzy and Rob the Throb, the original bump on a stump. Girl, even they found their little niche, outside of this show so that when the show is over, they still have something to call their own. Where is your exit plan? Where is your exit strategy? Like, you done been on here forever. Truth is, you only got a season left in you. Like Erica talking about Tom, you ain't got 80 days. You ain't got 80 seasons, I can tell you that. We ain't got another 8 seasons of Kenya. In 8 seasons, you'll be in your 70s. No, but you'd be deep in the 60s where it would be like, why are you? Oh, yes, two feisties in the room.
Hi,
But
Alex.
and here's the thing: I am not saying that you cannot have a rich and full life in your 60s. Lord knows I am planning to. However, it's do you want to be arguing with 45-year-old heifers that are low key too old for it? For real? Is that what we want to be doing at 68? It's not what I want to do at 68. It's not. And so, where's the longevity with the Atlanta girls? The thing is, there's longevity off the show. I'll say, you know who's shown us longevity that we didn't think was going to give it to us? Cynthia Bailey. Cynthia
Cynthia
Denise.
Bailey.
Cynthia Denise is out here, in her
Cheekbones.
Tubi projects and enjoying it, having fun as an actress. And that's the beauty of 50, of the middle age work. You get meteor work and you get to have fun with it. You get to sink your teeth into the roles more because you don't take yourself as seriously. But she's got her podcast. She's popping up here, there, popping up on TV, here, there, and everywhere. We can see Cynthia's not going anywhere for a while. She's working it and being seen.
Oh, Alex, what you eating on?
Brown rice.
Okay. I have a thought, but I might get jumped for it.
That's okay.
So let me put my back against the wall and windmill for my life. Now, I personally think that they should have given Marlo one more season because I think she would have fit in better with this cast. And let me tell you why I think Marlo would have been Kenya's saving grace, because Marlo would have willingly been the villain that Kenya decided to become. And she would have held all the girls accountable, including Portia. And Kenya could have sat back in her pretty era and opened up her hair spa and would have been chilling this whole season. But her and Portia had to click up because I'm sorry, that Carlos King interview was her attempt at getting Marlo off this show.
Marlo?
I really think she would have fit in better with this group of girls than she did with the last group of women. Marlo fits in better with a Brittany and a Kelly and an Angela than she does with a Candy Burris.
Fair.
And I
I'll
think
give you
she would have
that.
held Portia accountable because people have been so frustrated that Portia gets to whine and whine and whine about what's going on with the divorce and how terrible Simon was, and nobody gets to mention how Portia ended up with him in the first place. Marlo would have mentioned it. Marlo would not have let loose on that. And I think that she would have held Portia accountable. I think she would have been on Drew's case about what was going on with her and Dennis. I think she would have, held fire to the new girls and their, inconsistent stories. And I really think she would have given the blues to Britt Edie so Kenya wouldn't have had to. But Kenya was the main one saying she didn't really want to film with Marlo. That's why I said it's just God has a sense of humor.
I can actually see it. I really could see Marlo getting along better with this group without Candy.
I think she
But
would not have rubbed people the wrong way as much as she did last season. She would have been more likable with the right people.
and then she would have been able to pick at Portia, and it would have made a lot more sense because you've been around the girls all this time. So you know the heifer rather than you don't know me. So why are you speaking on stuff you've seen on TV? It's like, because I'm working
Yes.
with you now and I have a husband and I want you to get no ideas, bitch.
Now, it's not about liking Marla, because I know that's what people are going to listen to this and hear. It's not about whether you like her or don't like her. That's not the thing. But in terms of creating a cast, coming up with the cast that fits better, she would have fit better in the show this particular season. And the season has to have a villain. Marlo is always going to willingly be a villain. It just would be better with these women so it won't feel like she's picking on people or just like I would rather her pick on Portia about her stealing somebody's husband than to be talking to Candy about the nephew's funeral and Candy not buying any flowers.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I really think that if Kenya would have just sat back and let Marlo have another season instead of doing that Carlos King interview, and we all know Portia was never going to do this season with Marlo on cast because she doesn't want to be held accountable. I really think that Marlo would have been Kenya's saving grace. She would not have had to do to Brittany what she ultimately ended up doing because Marlo would have took care of that for her.
I can see that. I will also say, Kenya, this hair spa. I hope I don't get too much hate for saying this, but I've got to say how I feel.
Do you think it was a good
Miami
business
has
venture?
so much. What?
Do you think it was a good business venture?
I feel that you were about 4 seasons too late, sis.
Mm.
I think that your tenure on this show, like when you was 5 seasons, when they brought your ass back and you had just dropped that baby, that was the time to do it. That's when you had enough story where you knew they was gonna pick your ass up for another 3 years. You should have rented out some suites until the actual place was available and gotten that sucker up fast, because that could have been your Candy and the Gang, where people came by to interact with Kenya, get a little piece of Housewives, and get their hairs did. Without her on the show, like we saw, and Chris called it. He called it so good, dial direct with the right extension. He
Mm-hmm.
said, "Look, if you're not on the show, your restaurant's not open." Like if you're on the show, it's like, oh, we're in town. Let's go here. Wasn't nobody going for the food. They weren't going for
Meanwhile,
the
they're
high
saying
blood
OLG
pressure
is now they're saying OLG is closed. OLG and Blaze.
permanently. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because as long as you were on the show, you had a ton of traffic coming in. The second you got off that show, they saw the receipts dry up within 6 months. Because we didn't hear nothing about. No, we only heard about warm food when the restaurant was open. We only heard about warm food and missed inspections. There were never any financial problems. And there weren't, because the restaurant was paying for itself. The second that it stopped, we start hearing, oh, the rent late. Yeah, the rent late because the receipts for the restaurant couldn't cover it.
Because they didn't have repeat customers. It was one of those like travel
Tourist.
tourism
Yeah.
spots. And that was I think if it was going to be a real business, I think that was the thing that they failed to do. But they didn't care because there was always a line wrapped around OLG. But those people just visiting in Atlanta, they probably never go back after that first time eating there.
And that's exactly who it was for. It was for visitors. It was for somebody's coming in town. Okay, let's go to OLG. I want to try the pancakes. I want to try. So it was smart. They made millions. I'm
They made some
sure
good
they
money,
did.
yeah.
What?
They made some good money, yeah. You're right.
And I think they have one. They may still have one in the stadium somewhere. I thought she had one in the stadium, but I feel like once you're off the show, you ain't gonna and now the stadium one might stay open because that's a stadium contract. You got games. People kind of have to buy your shit if they're there.
It's less
They only have
overhead
so many
too.
options, so you're not worried about that as much. But I feel like, Kenya, you opening a salon now that your tenure on the show is coming to a close. They might bring you back for one season, but unless you marry the love of your life, and I mean, you gonna have to find Jesus. This N-word gonna have to be Jesus from heaven with the abs and all that. And he gonna have to marry you on camera. And then you might get another 3 seasons. But I don't think that's gonna happen. And I feel like after this, I don't. I could see Kenya being a friend of, but I don't know if they're gonna want to give a spot to her again. I think that her lack of popularity outside of the show, why ain't you got no acting gigs? You ain't got no podcast. You ain't got nothing going outside of this show in the entertainment industry, where honestly, at this juncture, you are a leech on, not a leech on Bravo, but you ain't bringing shit to Bravo. All the housewives at this juncture, like even the old crusty white ones that have been on 75 years, like Vicky Crone Gunvalson. She out here with a successful podcast. They had the Trace Amigas or the Dos Amigas. Their little shit goes out and promotes the show. So Kenya, you the only one on the cast ain't got nothing going on. It's very Sheree Whitfield. It's
You know what
very
I never understood?
What?
Okay. So as somebody who came up in the era of natural hair YouTube and who has natural hair, who wears natural hair or whatever, right? I have a really good understanding of how the hair care business works. I never understood why she went into hair care. Especially right now because the market is oversaturated with celebrity hair care lines. And no, everybody's putting out hair care lines. We can only use but so many products in our hair. And then most of us, if we buy these products from these celebrities, most of us go immediately back to the stuff that we normally use. We don't consistently keep them in our, rotation. I never understood why Kenya didn't lean into her original brand, which was pageantry. Kenya could have started her, like Candace has her own pageant consulting business that's successful. She's had some really successful clients, including the girl that won Big Brother. And by now, Kenya could have started her own pageant. And the show could have promoted and marketed that for her. And if she had started that when she first came on to Housewives, it could have become a big thing by now because she would have easily gotten sponsors to pay for the costs and stuff. And she would have pulled contestants from all over the place to participate. I just never understood why she didn't just lean into what she was known for originally. Before acting, before reality TV, she was always going to be the beautiful Black Miss USA.
Are you saying she should have started a pageant consulting business?
I'm saying she should have started her own pageant. She could have started the show with the pageant consulting business and eventually launched her own pageant.
She should have, but then again,
she's in the industry. She could get celebrity judges easily. Like she has a leg up as opposed to somebody in like a small town that's doing local pageants here and there with, beautiful girls in that area. She could have had a big leg up and excuse me, as opposed to everybody else who would have had to start from the ground. Because who else is able to promote their business on television like that? And it could have been a consistent storyline for her.
It could have, and she could have did that. But the most logical things honestly, when you think about it, the most logical things that people could do because they're good at it or they'll have a leg up at it, they tend to not want to do that. They try to get far away from that aspect. I definitely agree. She could have had a pageant consulting business. She could have had her own pageant.
They would have paid top dollar for information or just even like a what is it, guys? I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart. A blessing or a what is it? Yes, like as a consultant though, just having like her name on their resume as like, someone who's been given their seal of approval. That's what I wanted to say. Seal of approval.
I guess nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted it after the way she acted at Cynthia Bailey's open cast call.
When she first started, she still had pull.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking of coochie crack as well.
Okay, not nice.
And quiet as it's kept. Wait, hold on. Quiet as it's kept. Here's why she couldn't do that. Cynthia was on the show with that plot line. Remember, she had the Barely agency.
But I thought the Bailey agency was more for modeling.
It still had pageants.
He's not wrong. It does kind of fall in the same line, though. It does.
It would. Alex, you go ahead.
Feisty's right. It would have been way too close because Cynthia did have open calls, but she also had pageants and pageant prep because she done like a little
Ah.
pageant stuff as a model. So I see that for them it would have been too competitive. I don't want to say. I would say I don't want to say. It seemed like Kenya got out of that business. It didn't seem like she was familiar with it. It seemed like she used her pageant to springboard her, and so she did acting, she did music videos. She seemed to be away from the pageant world. Like she didn't try to be Ms. America, but it's not like she had a husband anyway.
That would have been better for her though. Still,
Yeah.
like I hear everything. It would have been challenging, but it still would have been, even her and Cynthia competing in some sense would have been better for her than for her to go into like hair care. Or when she first joined the show, it was all about her production company that wasn't really producing anything and having conflict with people on the show because either they weren't letting her produce their projects, or like Phaedra didn't want to pay the price, so Phaedra went with another company. But
Isn't the pageant industry kind of on the down right now? Like Miss America and like Miss Teen USA. Listen, I can't even keep them straight. But
No.
like, is it?
It is in some sense, but it still gets a lot of pull. And even then, though, with her being not only a celebrity, not only her being a recognizable pageant winner, like somebody's winning these pageants every year, but not everybody's a recognizable face and name. Kenya is a part of a brand, and she would be on a reality show promoting it. Had she have done anything within the pageantry world, she would have had a leg up against anyone else doing it.
I hope I pronounce your name right. I'm with Sherlana. I hope
Me too.
right.
I do.
Sherlana.
I agree. I just don't think the hair care thing was as great of an idea for her because one, most of those businesses only get promoted when the show is airing. And I'm not saying that they don't have any customers in Kenya More Hair Care. I'm not saying it doesn't have any customers, but it doesn't have the amount of customers that a lot of other companies have. And the market is oversaturated with hair care brands. Issa Rae has her collaboration with Sienna Naturals.
Issa Rae ain't got hair. You can't get famous with no hair and then come out with a hair care. That heifer ain't never had more than a teaspoon of hair. And none of her.
Taraji has her brand, Alex. Tracy Ellis Ross has her brand. There's Beyonce and Rihanna both have
Tracy Ellis Ross. I'm sorry now, heifer. You inherited your hair from Diana. You ain't got no business. You've been washing your hair with money all your motherfucking life. Stop that bullshit right now.
Well, Alex, that was the thing about Kenya. Kenya wants us to believe her hair is long because she uses those care products, and it's just not true. And most people, let's keep it real, and most people, we've seen this, most people, to prove how great their products work, they will cut their hair and document them using their products to show how quickly and how full their hair grows back. Kenya got mad at Tanya for saying that she wears a wig or a half piece.
Yep. I mean, Taraji cut her hair off to showcase her products.
Yes, she did. That's the natural order of things when you're the face of your brand. But the market is oversaturated. Every celebrity, just like every celebrity has a perfume or a fragrance, every celebrity has a hair care line.
Yep.
I'm not mad at a fragrance because you know what? Because the fragrance is original and unique. You can't oversaturate fragrance because every fragrance is different. Every fragrance is different where it's like mine ain't gonna smell like yours.
No,
but hair care, it's like look, we can condition it so many ways. It's gonna be
I'll say this for like hair care. Obviously I'm natural too with my hair. You have to figure out what works for your hair. So while the market is oversaturated with everybody having their own hair care line, somebody is going to find something that works for them from this specific person, and they're going to just continue buying from that specific person. Or they might mix and match the products. So I'm going to buy this from you, but then I'm going to buy this from you because this works better on my hair.
I have to disagree because, like, we're just going to keep it real. Most of us already have the hair care routine in place.
Oh, I'm talking about the
we use the products that we use, and somebody comes out with something new, and we may try it, And we
Yeah.
may like one or two things here, but most of us naturally gravitate back to what we know and use.
Yeah.
And a lot of us have been using a lot of these products for most of their life. I've been natural since 2012. I have been using the same product since 2012. I may add one or two things here and there, but I go back to what I have been using for almost 15 years since I went natural.
Well, I think there's also too a point about there's the businesses that you utilize while you're on the show, like the shorter runs of like a perfume or a candle or whatever. And then there's the businesses you invest in that if you've been on the show for a couple of seasons that can survive post show. Like you got to
Yes,
have a
that's what
game
she should
plan
have
of both,
done.
right? And that's where we're missing. I think the pageant honestly would have been a fun storyline to watch her, get into it the way she did with Cynthia. We could have seen a pageant, but like to have that be a lasting consultant job that would sustain after the show, I don't know. But like Alex was talking about earlier with Vicky. Vicky has 4 properties now down in Puerto Vallarta, I think. Just the different, there's the long game and then the capitalize while you're on the show game too.
But I
Certain
think
businesses just don't make sense. Like Giselle with the skincare line, or not skincare, the makeup line, right? We know that was all a flop and a failure, right? But if she was really passionate about makeup for Black women, even if that one business failed, she would have came back with something, or she would have partnered with an established or small business, or became the face of somebody's brand. She would have still continued to be in that specific industry. She was like, nope, finna do a podcast.
I'll say this with the pageant, like, had she done a pageant consultant business, it may have seemed like, oh yeah, it would have been fine for the show, but it would have actually worked. It would have did well to be promoted on the show, but it would have kept going after the show was off the air for however long it would have been, or she had left the show. Because while pageants are in a downswing right now, there's always a pageant going on. Somebody is always in somebody's pageant.
And they spend top dollar on
Yes,
those
they
They
pageants.
spend.
do, and it's a
They
lot of
do.
it's a
Yeah.
lot of well-heeled and well-connected young women that can afford to be in that space.
Even Scott and Contessa's daughter is literally competing
Yes.
in pageants now. I wasn't saying just a pageant consulting. I'm saying she should have launched her own pageant network.
She
Even
would.
if it was
But
small,
this
it
is, you
still would have
see,
been
but this
promoted.
actually, I want, like, this is that's kind of my point. There's a reason that she can't, and it's because she didn't get what you needed to get on this show, and it's what Candy got on this show, and it's what it has allowed Candy to open and close businesses and have things that will thrive post show. And do you know what that thing is?
Support.
No.
Capital?
No.
A Caucasian?
No. When did Candy get a Caucasian?
Tell us, Alex.
Likability.
Gotcha.
I was gonna say drive, but yeah.
Nope. Kenya has drive. What she failed to get on this show that will survive post show, even more important than talent, Mitch, is likability. And this is why I have said over and over, can you give us something more than cruelty? Be more than bitch. This is why I've said it ad nauseum, because now here we are. And your last episode, production said, fuck you. They showed you begging, baby, please. Baby, please. I'm in debt. I'm deep in debt. And it's like, 400,000 should not be, that's not money to, that should not be money to you, Kenya Moore. 10
she
years
put all her money into it, and she can't afford to even leave that place open. She can't afford the staff.
Like, and I'm also like, you should have been like, this shit should have been opened. This shit this should have been in tandem with Brooklyn. But all while last season was going on, this just shows like you're not likable enough to launch something without the show. And therefore, even if you launched it and it was open and the show's on and you're getting a little business, the second the show, you're off the show, which is going to be in what? Like, let's say you come back next season. That's going to be it for you, boo.
You know what I'm confused about with her opening this place? Why not, like, she tried to open, what is it supposed to be, a full service beauty bar? Is that what this is supposed to be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, like, while that is great, the girls aren't really trying to work for someone else in like a full service beauty bar, but what they are trying to do is rent out spaces for them to go and do hair and nails and makeup and just paying a booth rental. That would have been the best thing she could do, because
Studio suites.
yes, that's the best thing she could do, because there's a lot of girls who are what como se dice, what am I trying to say? There are a lot of girls
Entrepreneurs.
entrepreneurs, but there are a lot of girls, like, in the middle of the night, if I can't sleep, I'll go like scrolling through like reels or shorts or whatever. And you have and I'm talking about the black girls. So many of them are doing hair out of their houses, hair out of their apartments, hair, like some of
That's
them.
always been the case, though.
Yeah,
That's
some of
not
them
new.
even have gotten tiny homes.
A kitchen beautician, that's what they
Yeah.
called it back in the day.
Yeah, and some of them, my mama was one of those. Some of them even go out and get tiny homes and set them in the back of their houses to have a space to do hair, to do nails, to do makeup. The best thing for her would have been get the property, have it renovated, have it as space for people to come in and pay you booth rent to do all of that. And then these are the amenities that I will also offer for your clients.
That's not the issue.
But
that's not the issue. The issue is she opened it in Atlanta. She opened it in the black hair capital of the world, where the market is already over.
That's a good ass point.
She opened it in the black hair capital of the world, where Bronner Brothers, the hair show, goes on. Mm-hmm. It's oversaturated with, so people are already making, understand this. I think she was possibly trying to model herself after what Kim Kimball had with LA, what is it, LA hair?
The beauty bar? Oh, okay.
No, not LA that. We know ultimately Kenya's goal was to get a spinoff, very similar to what Candy was trying to do with OLG. Kenya's ultimate goal was to get a spinoff with her own reality show centered around her business, right? They both were trying to do that. And like Kim Kimball, but the difference between you and Kim Kimball is Kim Kimball's Kim Kimball's brand has always been hair. Uh-huh. You could go as far back as Two can play that game. She's always been doing hair for celebrities. So she was already getting celebrities coming to her hair salon. She was already getting booked to do hair on movie shoots and film shoots and doing hair for photography and all that other stuff. Yeah, and she's always had celebrity clients. So her having a show centered around her brand, that was already her brand. Kenya's not a hairstylist. And you're ultimately asking people who possibly work for themselves or who ultimately want to have their own salon to come work for you. What is the incentive, especially if you're not being featured on television? If she had opened it in somewhere else in a smaller town, and honestly, the business didn't work for Nene because she had too much going on in her personal life at the time. But one of the smartest things Nene did was not open that lounge in Atlanta. She opened it somewhere else outside of Georgia. That's why it was always packed. Yep. She should have never opened it in Atlanta. Nope. She should have not Atlanta, not Houston, not New York, not Miami.
Mm-mm. She just didn't bank on getting kicked off. That's whatever plan she had, whether it be to get her, because Alex and I talked about that. We thought that she was probably going to try to get her own spinoff too, right? Like, that. And she mentioned she wanted to franchise too. So she might have thought, listen, pipe dreams. But regardless, allegedly
wishes,
right? So regardless, what the plan was got completely derailed by the shenanigans, right? And so I'm just curious how everybody feels, because I keep hearing her talk about now how unsafe she felt thanks to the the pew pew, but I didn't know that slut shaming someone was an act of protection.
Oh,
Right.
are you asking? Did she really feel like her life was in danger? Is that the question?
Well, maybe more like, what do you think about her claim that this is the appropriate response to feeling in danger?
Alex.
Mm.
I I want to bring this up.
Uh-huh.
We forget this is not the first time Kenya has antagonized. There's been a fight, and Kenya hasn't let it go and gone and antagonized someone.
Mm-hmm.
Remember back on her first reunion when
Oh
she was
yeah.
pulling out props left and right, putting scepters in people's faces? Kenya, this poster was just like that scepter.
Just
You
bigger.
take it too far with the Nene, and you can only go like this in front of somebody's face for so long before you get that ass whooped. So now, was Britt overreacting? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Was she wrong 115%? She was wrong. Wrong. Brittany was wrong. Wrong. I'm not disagreeing with any of you. Here's where Kenya fucked up. Instead of saying, this is when you white woman. This is when you white woman.
I'm listening.
I don't feel safe.
You go to production.
This is when you Greg
Go to
Lunsford the
production,
situation.
you go
Yep.
to HR.
You go to
I
Greg
don't feel
Lunsford.
safe. I want a meeting. Nobody did anything because it was some bullshit, and you know it.
Mm-hmm.
It was some bullshit, and you know it. It was talk, and talk is cheap. But that's the issue.
Well, Team Twirl is upset. They upset.
And if you had just been mature and gone to HR, they would have dealt with it and continue. Maybe you should have continued to go. Maybe you should have said, "I'm not filming with her. I don't feel safe." Like, you could have taken other routes, millions of other different things, than blowing up a picture of her that you found on the internet sucking dick. And I'll tell you something else. The fact that you had time
To look it up.
thank you. That's why God said, okay, you got time to be broke. You got time to look up shit like this. You got time for your business to fail. You got time, baby. I got time. Give you all these damn blessings and you go home and use your good Mac computer for this.
But at her grand opening, Alex, at her grand, like,
Why
At
would
she
you?
already
your
had a
place
soft
of
opening.
business, you printed this shit out.
Befouled the halls.
So
I don't care how
feel
bad I'm
Britt
beefing with
was
you, money
wrong,
is my
but
money.
Kenya and Bravo said, "Well, we have to let you go because this ain't the first time you have provoked somebody." And the thing is, Britt probably responded like a white woman. And I'm not saying that white women responses are correctly, but in this case, if you want to fight, you got to fight corporately. You can't fight in the street. When Portia snatched your ass, what happened? They snatched that check the next season. But Kenya, you still didn't have enough pull because of your antagonistic ways to keep Portia off the show. Because they was like, you deserve to get dragged because of the shit you did. Britt decided, oh no, I'm not going to get violent with you. I'm going to play hurt and psychologically damaged so Bravo will give me another 3-season check. Britt said, I'm going to play the coin game.
This also happened around the time of Caroline Manzo's assault lawsuit.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Oh, it did. Oh my
Yeah.
God, great point.
So they were like, oh, we gotta react quickly to the.
So it was time for Kenya to read the room. It was time, exactly. She should have turned into a true actress and ran for safety every time Britt was in the room or iced her out. That's how you deal with people like that on the show. You can't come at them harsh because this didn't work. And she said, okay, I know how to fight that. I know how to get you off the show. And honestly, it's like, that's the housewives that we don't want. That's the housewives that we complain about that's too dark.
Yeah, because slut shaming is an act of protection doesn't really make sense. That's an act of antagonization, not protection. If you're worried someone's going to be violent toward you, putting up a public D-sucking photo is not going to calm them down.
Yeah, I think this goes beyond slut shaming, though, honestly. What she's being accused of doing, because we have yet to see it, but what she has been accused of doing is way beyond slut shaming. Like, saying somebody is a whore is a slut shame, but actually having a public event and having photographs of said acts, you know, it's a crime.
Because I like consent. Don't show me that photo.
It's a crime.
Like, we don't call it what it is. You know, I'm just trying to get my hair washed.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It is crime.
Psychic, you might have hit something. You might have hit something. Consent is important. You know what? We've been thinking about the word revenge porn all this time. Cynthia. Kenya may not have technically committed revenge porn, but her exposing illicit photos to people without their consent could be
on the job. On the job.
That's like because like they'll complain if you live in a big city and you take public transportation, every so often you'll like read an article about women complaining that guys are like airdropping dick pics. True. It only happens when you're like in a train station.
Yeah, I've seen those articles.
So it could definitely be something like that where it's like, you know, the people on set, like the producers and the cameraman, the gaffer, the sound guy, they had to see that too. And so maybe they're like, we're not going to say legally what she did so that other people won't sue. But it could be that because she did that, it did break some type of porn law.
I want to know where Kenya's producer is.
Sexual harassment extends to just hearing or seeing something inappropriate. Thanks,
right.
Mm-hmm. I want to know where Kenya's producer is in all of this, because for her to have pulled that stunt, there's no way her own producer would not have known.
Was it the same guy in Potomac?
I don't know. Like, isn't he the EP? I'm saying, like, everybody on the cast gets their own producer, though. And I'm saying, like,
okay,
where is that producer in all of this?
We got to stress Love D. The pew pew threats. Here's what, nobody took that seriously. Like, did she say it? Yes. But it's like the expression, I'm going to kill her. We don't think when people say it, they're actually going to do it. And like, then she was calling that husband, that sloth sissy was not going to do nothing but calm her ass down. He was not going to get in Kenya's face. He was not getting bucked. We saw a woman that had maybe had a few drinks that was upset. We've seen Kenya be upset too. Yes, it was wrong, but also it was not a serious threat that warranted this.
Well, she could have gotten her written up. Don't threaten me with, the pew-pew violence. She could have gone and said to HR, like, I do not feel safe. She threatened to use a gun, and then made them, have some sort of repercussion with her.
And if you really didn't feel safe, your actions need to show that you really didn't feel safe. You felt safe as a lamb blowing up that woman's picture of her sucking dick. You felt safe.
Yeah, the remedy doesn't meet the,
So I get that she said it, and I'm not agreeing with it. But that's not how you respond in the workplace. This is an example of how you get your own self caught up.
Yep. Well, because they had no choice.
You had a great case, but now you done fucked it. Now you off the show.
because I don't think they felt like they had a choice, especially with the public attention that they had with the current climate, with everything that was going on. I think,
Wait, hold on. Somebody said, do we hate Kenya so much? We do not hate Kenya. We are honestly all racking our brains that how she, a veteran of the show, isn't playing chess and not checkers. Because the fact is, we didn't put Kenya off the show. Production did. Production decided to move forward without her. We didn't have that meeting. We did not. Psychic? Did you have a meeting? Did we have a meeting earlier this year when we decided to put Kenya off our show on Bravo, and we just didn't tell them we the secret network heads and I'm doing this for fun?
Listen, no, I don't hate Kenya. I think she made some poor choices, which is what we're talking about, because we watch this show and do judgment for sport. So, I mean, I feel bad for Kenya. When I heard her get emotional about what she's put at risk, it just made me question even more why she really thought that stunt was a good idea. She thought it was, but unfortunately, it's landed her into a situation that, it really feels like a waste. And that's why we're all talking about.
Hey, Mel.
Yes. Hey, Mel.
Hey, Mel.
Hey, Alex. Hey, ladies.
Hey.
How you doing? Hey, how y'all doing?
We're
Good.
Favor.
Oh, well, you know what? I love the conversation. You know what? I want to say, what if for me, I come from a different perspective. I would say this. I think that both ladies, Britt and Kenya, I think it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate and sad that this kind of escalated the way it did. Now, my view of it is this. Let's think about high school. We have kids currently in this day and age, they in school and they getting stupid, acting crazy. And then somebody at school say, I want to pull out of this or pull out of that. Now, if the other person who was talked to in that way decided to come to school the next day and start playing with that person and doing crazy things to them and stuff, that would escalate it to the ninth degree. When you've been threatened, you're going to take it to your principal. You're going to take it to the right authorities. You're going to do the right things to account for that. You're not going to take action in your own hands. I think for me, Brittany is definitely coming up desperate. She's coming up problematic. The word she used was terrible. I think that she's responsible for her wording. But I also think that Kenya, in response, what we see next year is also not good. I think that both the ladies did something wrong. I really do. I think that the way that Brittany has kind of been, in a way, stalking Kenya in a way is not good, and the way her language is not good. But then Kenya doing what she did with the video or whatever it was is not right too. So, and what if it's just that we don't hate neither one of the ladies? We don't know. Nobody on this panel hate anybody.
Yeah.
But what the ladies are doing is very complicated, and I think that it was words, and I think that if Kenya really felt threatened, and I don't know if she did or not, but if she really did, I would hope that she would have enough sense to go.
Mel, you brought up such a great point. Okay, I can answer now why people are more upset over what Kenya did than Brittany threatened. A threat, a common idle threat is what Brittany issued. A common idle threat. Common hyper over talk. Things that we hear on TV every day. We hear it it's like not because we know there's not going to be a follow through. Kenya did something that will psychologically affect this woman and her family. There is a difference between saying, I'm going to get you, I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to do something, and then actually doing something at an event in front of everybody. Not threatening, not even saying, I've got pictures of you I could share with the group. No, she just did the shit.
Right, and I think for me too. Again, I wanted because I think going into being in 2025, I wanted to see things the way it is. As a viewer, listening to Brittany over this past year say that she didn't say anything about violence, that she didn't say anything about this. Listen, I don't like that either. I mean, I don't like any part of what this woman has done. But I personally don't think that she should have been, exposed as we're going to see next week, whatever. So as I said, I think both ladies are have some responsibility for this issue. But the only person who took an action that was, as you say, emotionally devastating was unfortunately Kenya. She took an action, and I'm surprised. I'm really surprised that because everybody on the panel, you remember, and I love Candace. Oh, I love her so much. I love the character. But I
I am
remember.
not excusing a threat chicken favored. I'm not excusing a threat. A threat is simply saying I'm gonna do something that it's different than doing something.
So you remember? Go ahead. I was
That's
gonna
why
say,
there's attempted murder and murder. That's
and
why when you get charged with threatening somebody, they don't charge you with killing them. They charge you with threatening, which is
so
still different from attempted. You see, there's levels to this shit.
there
So
is. So
Kenya jumped to the end, and Brittany was just still, I'm going to.
So I
And
don't
we
want to
know
use
that happened on
I don't want to use Karen as an example, but I remember again, as I said, I love the character of Candace. But I remember there was this big issue, big beef between Karen and Candace in one of the reunions, and what did Karen do? Again, I didn't agree with it, but she said I felt threatened by the way you described me. You want me to burn in hell or whatever she said. I don't know. She just said I'm going to go to the boss. I'm surprised. I mean, unless Kenya comes out with the receipts, I'm surprised that she didn't take that action herself when it came to this woman that she don't know. And that she decided to then take action to her own hands to do what we might see next week. So that's all people are talking about. Brittany definitely misrepresented the situation. She was definitely aggressive. These episodes. She used wrong language. And she also lied. I guess you're going to say about not saying pow pow words and stuff because she said in some of her stuff last year, whatever she said that she didn't say anything aggressive, that she was innocent. But
I
that's
mean,
not.
it's clear she totally overreacted and made a complete fool of herself. Like, it was like, wow. And I mean, kind of like getting to the pow pow part was even absurd to be
Yeah.
like, oh, really? And so the thing is, if Kenya had just allowed her to act a fool, like, we'd all just look at her like, you completely overreacted, lady.
Yeah.
Like, wow, you really tried to do a
Exactly.
big one on your first season. You're trying too hard. Calm down. You know what I mean? It would have just looked
Exactly.
like her foolishness and trying too hard as a first season person versus now she got the upper hand because of the retaliation.
And Love D, I completely agree. And if Kenya had taken the right road
Right.
and
Yeah.
taken the let me get
Agreed.
you suspended and terminated mode rather than let me blow up you sucking dick, if she had
Yeah.
taken road A into the HR office rather than road B into the copy office, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And this is the thing, Kenya, you should know how the game works. You shouldn't be letting a new hussy scam you out of your spot.
But
And I'm
Kenya's
sorry,
default is to
Britt
become the
knew how to
villain.
play this one.
Kenya's
She
default
fucked
is
up
to
at
be the
first,
villain.
but then she got you on your back foot. And I also think all of us, everybody, I want us all to hold hands because we got to touch and agree with this motherfucker. Production made this decision. It's time we start asking, why would production so readily let her ass go? Is it because she ain't got much of a storyline going on? Because they was 4 weeks into filming. They said, cut the cameras and cut the heifer. Cut the heifer. It was easy for them to say toodles toots, and none of the cast said Sanderson sisters stand strong beside me. None
Yeah,
of the
that's true.
girls got together and held hands and said, we won't film. We won't film. Allegedly, Ashley's joined us, but they never joined hands and said, we won't film. Attica, Attica, Attica. Union. They didn't say that. That your girls did not join hand. They said, So what time are we filming tomorrow? Okay, call time's at 10. All right, I'll see you there. Poor Ken. That's what they said.
I know. So I had two questions. One, and even listening to you, I love listening to everybody the way y'all break it down. And it's just popping into my head right now. Kenya did get emotional about talking about her business, about 400,000 stuff like that. I'm wondering, did she feel that Britt Edie, if it's her name, that Britt Edie was a threat to her in some way? Not, I'm not again. I'm not talking about the pow pow. Yeah, that was terrible. But I'm thinking about a financial threat. Did she feel like this woman was reckless in some way, that she kind of had to be very aggressive with her in response to the way that she talked to her, as we're going to see next week? And also, do we think that the producers, as you said, cut Kenya off because she was expensive? Because when you on whether you're on a reality show or on a drama, when you have a diva of Kenya's stature who is very expensive, and you make $1 million or whatever you get a year, and you can catch them up in with this kind of problem, then you can kind of get them off, and you can save money or something. That's the two things I was thinking about with this whole situation.
I definitely remember when they started getting rid of the white women, when it started coming out that, okay, start to expect some of the older housewives to go that have been on this show forever. The salaries are getting too top heavy. This was also before, this was like maybe when the shows were about like 5, maybe 8 to 10 years old, when it was like, okay, this is going to continuously be a thing. But they weren't in the syndication gold that they're in right now, with being on Hulu and everything. Like, you were getting a season here, a season there. But they start.
I was gonna say, you did see that because after a while, New Jersey, to be an example, New Jersey had a lot of turnover with cast.
Yep.
Like,
And because Teresa and Melissa were the only ones they like spent money on.
Yeah, they were the only ones. Like, after the Manzos and the Loritas left, there was like a lot of turnover, and then Teresa goes to jail. The show is off for a while. Come back with a brand new cast, and even then, there's constant turnover with them because they're not trying to pay the people.
Yep.
I think the only show that has been safe from having a lot of turnover, I want to say Beverly Hills, because most of, and no, they're not safe either. I could have lied and said they were, but they're not. All these shows only keep like maybe one or two people that they be like, I'll take, something on the back end, or they good for TV ratings because they're always going to be in a fight. Melissa, Teresa, always good for ratings. Somebody's always going to want to pick a fight between the two of them. But
it's when salaries get top heavy, when they've been on their tenures too long and they got too many OGs and they want to like free up some money. They shuffle them on.
Yep.
And that's what I feel happened with Kenya. I feel that we had an OG with a stale storyline, and then also I feel like this episode really, especially with Kenya doing what she always does, not wearing the color to the dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of it being, Kenya starting shit and breaking it up and it being a conversation piece, it just showed how you didn't fit in with this new group of women.
No. And I don't think she wants to fit in with this new group of women. I think there's a better way to handle this entire situation, because they could have shuffled her off the show and then pushed her to another one of the shows that they keep creating around Housewives. Like, I saw a promo for a dating show.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they didn't put her on that Hotel Love.
I was like, Kenya could have been placed on the dating show in lieu of, what I've seen so far of that cast.
Oh no.
I don't know if they're going to bring back Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip after the lawsuit situation.
God, I can't believe that. Ooh, I almost said something.
But it was like,
I can't believe that. Sorry, Strawberry.
But I mean, also, Brandy, you should have been pushing up. Like, everybody, listen. Consent. Consent is the word
Okay,
for that.
hold on. She didn't have to try to fit in. They were the ones that had to fit in. Actually, no. Here's the
Mhm.
thing. Kenya, you're on the outro.
Mhm.
If you want to, like, you're like, it's time. We're passing the torch.
Yeah.
It's time for you to fit in with the new, and I think that's what
Mhm.
it is too. It also showed like you gotta kind of like Kenya was so ready. I mean, not Kenya. Candy was so ready to
Mhm.
pass the torch to share and also to grow on the show. Like we need growth. And Kenya, you were just acting like a growth instead of being motherly and warm and friendly. It's okay, if you feel like that girl was coming after you, why didn't you like Shamia bring an olive branch? Like there were so many other ways that you, as a matriarch of the show now that's
There
done
we
this
go.
for a decade, there's so many ways that you could have diffused and made it fun. And the other girls, they're all about having fun. And Kenya, you're
Mhm.
still, really, I'm going to start. It's like, I've just seen you be a thorn in everybody's side.
I'm gonna just say this.
Alex, that's what brought me up here on the stage. You said the magic words. Hi, everybody. Love the commentary. I wanted to come up here after I heard all these brilliant viewpoints to address something that y'all may or may not have uncovered. I have been noticing how women with deep seated mommy wounds interact with other women. You said it, Alex. That's what brought me up here. It was time for Kenya to be motherly, to be voice of reason, to be voice of wisdom. But
Mhm.
having that, because if correct me if I'm wrong, but Kenya's mom, it was revealed on a few seasons back where her mother had abandoned her, had given her up, or something of that nature. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they never had a relationship.
And that's it. When I noticed between her and Marie on Bell Collective, when a woman is lacking the mother, it's very easy for her to undermine and harm other women. She sees other women as something to one up, to beat up, and she
Mm.
will go to no limit. She'll go to any limit to one up the next woman, and that's what brought me on the stage. I am a Kenya Moore fan. I love her down, but it was time to be the wiser woman.
Oh, thank you. And that's all I've been saying. I haven't said like I want to have examples of fun Kenya. I need Kenya to give me more of those. I'm sure I can come up with some. But when I've my first go-to is the crab cake incident. It's like, come on, girl. Like, I want, like, I'll tell you, it's kind of the same thing with Garcelle and like how she went low with Dorit. I don't want to see you go that low. I want more from
Mm-mm.
you. I don't want to think that of you. You're better than that. And I would say that Kenya, you are better. Like, I hope that she does get, a return season. She definitely has her fans a swirling. But it's like, okay, girl, what you honest to God, Kenya doesn't need to be quiet right now. You need to be
Mhm.
establishing your life outside of the show. You have a fan base, you trending. What the hell you gonna do with them? Why don't you have Kenya's conversations?
I would subscribe. I would
I
subscribe and
mean,
support.
because you have the and also and like and honestly, I don't want you to be Nene. I don't want her to be Nene. You've got too much industry experience and rich history. You were on the set of fucking Waiting to Exhale, even if it was for 2 minutes. But
I want to see her on the rest of the season. I want to say that. I think it sucks that we're not going to get any more like to play out or resolution or conflict resolution or any of it. I don't, it's unfortunate that she put them in, got herself into this position, but I stand by. I would like to see, even if she is in an adversarial position, I still don't want her off this season.
But
But
she rubbed somebody the wrong way,
I
the
it's
guess
higher ups,
so.
it's
Yeah.
not
because like somebody said that she didn't even get a confessional.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She didn't even get a confession.
It was they mentioned that on shout out to Kempire. He had an emergency podcast with the Brooke Ashley and What Else Is Going On, the What Else Is Going On podcast. They mentioned that there. And the Brooke Ashley said, it would be so good to have her just for context. If you're going to
Mhm.
use her, give us, the full experience. And I understand that. I also feel like I get why she had to go. And also, here's why. We have been bitching and moaning. It's been too dark. It's too dark. It's too dark. We're tired. It's too dark. It's too dark. Jesus
Mhm.
Christ, Eric.
True.
It's
True.
so they finally and to Kenya, like, stuff was going on. You knew you had many other things to do. This was not necessary. It was time to take a hard stand.
I
It was
also
Well,
time to take a hard stand. And Britt, I will say, I think it was a beautiful mix of Britt decided to fight like a white woman. Kenya had that top heavy salary and they pay your ass per episode. And so they said, you know what, the ratings may not be what we need. So this is a way to bump up that budge. And I think also production just ain't really here for her.
well,
I
Alex, you forgot one thing. That Carlos King interview. She called out production on Carlos King's interview.
yep.
Ooh.
Yeah.
She was very candid with her issues with productions in that interview, and we all know how they feel about Carlos King over there.
It's not even just how they feel about Carlos King. It has been said a plethora of times, so I'll just repeat it. You be good to production, production will be good to you. You
That
don't,
likability, like Alex
yeah,
said, the
you
likability.
you don't get to talk ish about production and think, especially if there's no turnover on production. If y'all sticking with the same production season after season, and you go on somebody's platform who you already know that the network does not fool with, and you talk badly about them, oh, guaranteed. Oh, y'all said where was her producer? That was a question earlier. Well, maybe her producer was one of those people she was talking about. If they don't have turnover on there for production, if that production has long-term contracts with those producers, she was talking about her producer as well. And they basically probably said, I'll give, let her do whatever she gonna do, because she eventually gonna trip herself up. And that's exactly what she did. Also,
Mhm.
something to add to this, you had the Caroline Manzo lawsuit for sexual harassment, and you also had that man who's still currently locked up, who was dancing in all the videos. If you don't want your manager to be dancing in the videos, come to death row. That man, all his stuff was coming
Oh,
out at the same time that all of this was happening.
bad timing.
And
Yeah.
NBC Universal owns Peacock. Peacock was putting out documentaries about him. You absolutely right. We not about to get caught up with your mess.
Yeah.
When I think about that mommy wound, I do think about Marie. And speaking of Marie, Alex, why we ain't get no bill collected from you? Are we gonna get some more bill collected from you?
Okay, so here's what's gonna happen. They love to bring that back, like they do half the season, and then they stop, and then they'll just bring back half the season. When it comes back, I'll finish the whole season.
Thank you. I lived for your reviews.
Cause they like I got to half of it and I forgot what happened, but I ended up missing 2 weeks, and I was just like, damn it, I'll get caught up with them again.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, Kenya's you're 54. It's time to heal that mommy wound. You're a mommy now. And I'm glad that you, a Kenya fan, see it. And also, it like looking at what Garcelle did in 6 years, and Kenya Garcelle is the same as you, same age range, came from the same Hollywood era. So if she can come on here, go on Beverly Hills, and Garcelle had it harder going on an all white show.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Garcelle had to deal with some shit you never thought of. You just had to deal with some bitches.
They played in,
Garcelle had to deal with white bitches.
yeah, they played in Garcelle's face. But that lady who felt, Her shoe dazzle deal and her fabletics and her music career that didn't take off was still mad at Garcelle for telling her, Erica, I don't have to do nothing to make you look bad. You do that all on your own. Garcelle, girl, you know I love you, but you ate her up with that one, and she's hated you ever since. She's hated
You
you
do
ever
that
since.
all by yourself.
And I don't have to do
Well, I feel like it's very interesting with the black women on Beverly Hills because I pointed this out before. Bose and Garcelle are self-made women.
Mm-hmm.
All the other women are there because wait, are there any actresses that are there for their own talent? No, everybody's there because of their husband's money. Erica, husband's money. Kyle, husband's money. Sutton, husband's money. So those two are,
Dorit too.
self-made women.
Dorit.
What money?
Right.
Husband's money.
Right. But yeah, the money's gone. Yeah, I agree. Listen, I love listening to this. I was going to go back a little bit to Kenya. I was going to say, you know what? Y'all educated me tonight because I forgot that when Candy left, of course, everybody was sort of, they was shocked about that. So then, yeah, Kenya did go over to talk to Carlos, and she did sort of, she was professional about it. She did complain about her feelings, and then she went right into filming, and then so I forgot about that. Yeah, the producers were waiting
I
for
did
her.
too.
Uh-huh.
They were waiting for her. Oh my gosh.
Honestly,
I mean, punishment.
yeah, I could say I liked what is it? It was that it's that season where Sheree had the coochie cleanse or whatever party.
So everybody always references that season.
They
It's
always
so funny.
steaming them clams. I tell you. Now I'm gonna want some.
It's not.
You know
No,
what?
it's
Hold
not.
on. I gotta order some malt. Shit, I'm moving soon. I gotta prove for my apartment, so I gotta figure out how I'm going to move. But also, I can't order any malt vinegar because I'm not gonna drink a whole bottle. Well, not drink, but you put it on food. I'm not gonna eat a whole bottle of it before I move, and I don't want to take it on the plane. Erica's husband stolen money. That's right.
Yeah, stolen. No money. He did steal that money, but no. I said
Kahara Collins is here. Kahara, I hate to break it to you. The last season of Bell Collective has not ended because Carlos King is a piece of shit. And tell him I said it. He's a piece of thieving shit. And tell him I'll look him dead in his face. I will get down and look him in his face. But anyway, he splits up the seasons so that the people have to work twice as hard and make half as much. That's why Monique is pissed with him. So no, we'll get the rest of the season of Bell Collective later this year.
No, isn't that what Winter? Isn't that what that was a funny interview that Winter?
That's what Winter complained about. That's what Monique complained about. That's what what's her name? The one with the husband complained about.
Yeah,
the one with the husband, not Marceau, because Marceau.
Yeah, but and then also some woman dropped him on the live stream during the holiday time. That was a very funny thing too. But
Collective.
Oh, was it? Okay, so do you see? I don't know this world, but I remember it went viral. I was like, oh my gosh, this woman is amazing. She just went up here and said, "Happy Merry Christmas," and I'm leaving. I said, "Whoa."
Yeah, I'll say this. 2 of his cast members left from Bell Collective. I'll say this. I'm surprised. Like, you have his cast members that are complaining about how he splits the seasons. You have season 7A and then season 7B. So you don't have to renegotiate contracts to pay them more. But then you also see that with a few other reality shows, like A Love and Hip Hop. Like, that franchise will come with the first half of the season, and then they'll take a long period off, even though they filmed all that stuff already, and bring it back for the second half, and it'll be season 12A, season 12B. And it's like, so they don't have to pay these people more or renegotiate the contracts. And the only time contracts get renegotiated is when the season B wraps up, and even then they're trying to get them people in there very quickly. Like, here, sign the contract so we get you in here quick, so we can start filming again.
Yeah, and then too, you have most people, when you sign, you're signing a 5 to a 10-year
Mm-hmm.
contract, and so you've got your escalations and whatnot.
Yep. Some people are locked in for years, and it's just like, yeah, that price ain't never
Catfish,
changed.
Catfish did that for 4 years with season 8.
They did, indeed.
Wait, did season 8 have 4 parts?
Yes.
I mean, wow, really 4?
Yeah, they did. They prolonged that. Um Jersey Shore, the family okay, so I'll say this. Jersey Shore actually did it that first like go around before they came back from family vacation. Now they do family vacation like that, where it's like season dot 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 A and then dot 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 B. They did it that first go around with season 2.
I feel like with those people, like Jersey
No,
Shore, those kids are getting millions. I
season
feel
2.
like with because they started doing that with Black Ink Crew as
Mhm.
well. I feel like that's different because that's when the show is so popular, we can have it on twice a year. And so it's a graduation where it's like, oh, we're popular, well, we can, split it up and get a couple more episodes.
Yeah, they did it.
Um
They did that with them. Season 2 was in Miami, and then they hurried up and got them back to Jersey for season 3, and then they did it again with 4 and 5.
Here's the Sippin' Monty said Kenya can come back if she doesn't bash Andy or the network like Nene did. I don't think I think that we are all at the point of it's not about Kenya coming back anymore. It's about Kenya, what are your next plans? Because
Yeah.
you are, you're the senior, you're a senior hanging out at the campus. You done got your graduate degree. You done taken all your classes now. It's cap and gown time. It's cap
Listen,
and gown time.
I think
But
Shay
and she's fighting with the freshmen too at that.
Girl,
is not. It's
thank
not.
you.
Mm,
And
true.
that's the thing. Like you can't even have it look like you are jealous of the young girls. Like you've never gotten that from Karen.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. And y'all remember when she was in the car, I was like, oh, she's playing. When she got in Portia's car, in the car with Portia and Shamia at the end of the episode, and you heard her talk about everything but what had just happened. They were talking
Mm.
about some thong in the car and Portia's car. And I was like, yes, that's how you play it smart. You minimize it. You keep it small. But when she got home and really got a chance to stew and in that mommy wound, in that hyper competitive pageant mean girl environment that she's used to, she
That
came
part.
back guns a blazing.
That part.
That's a really strong combination. I don't know these people. We don't know these people. But when we think about a deep mommy wound and all the hardships that those girls go through, the hyper competitive, backbiting pageantry world, she played it smart immediately after that and while on camera. But when she got home, she really sat in it and it just let her feelings take over.
I think I can't say nothing about the mother situation, but I think that's like maybe the thing that will trip humans up the most, and I just say humans in general. When something happens and you don't initially react to it, but you have time to just stew and just sit in it, you allow your emotions to really just take over, and you will act out of that. And as we can see, this was not a good thing to do, to act out of emotion. I would say it is likability that she doesn't have, because I mean, look at Cynthia. Cynthia had been all over the Real Housewives manosphere, and everybody likes Cynthia. She get along with everybody. She got a podcast with Crystal. I actually listened to it. I
Me,
watched her.
me
Hold
too.
on, I watched her put a lace front on Crystal. I said, "Why are you putting a lace front on Crystal?" But you know what? Go ahead. Crystal wanted the lace front for her birthday. I was like, you know what? You get your lace front.
I'm so glad somebody said this because we are saying this to the Kenya fans, and I respect the Kenya fans love that have been in here listening to us. And thank you for having different opinions. This is a conversation. We all ain't gonna think the same thing, but we ain't beating up on her. She needs a rebrand. She's it's exactly, but she's incapable of being genuinely nice, it seems. And that should not be your brand after being on TV for 10 years.
Yeah, you know
Oh,
what?
Nobody,
I was going to
and
say,
when
and the
when
thing is, nobody did that but Kenya.
yeah, I was going to say,
And and I think the first thing Kenya's gonna have to do to rebrand is to kind of like what Gabrielle Union did, have a moment of owning being a mean girl. And do you remember that clip that was going around when she was on that Oprah
oh yes,
Winfrey with
oh
actress
yes, yeah,
and AJ? She said all the things AJ said to her. Now, how did your life change? Did your house get bigger? Did you get the
mm,
guy? No, no.
yeah.
You looked like an absolute asshole. And the woman that you tried to, negate, well, everybody's now thinking about her in a completely different light because they know she had to deal with you.
right.
Mm.
Well, yeah. Okay, first off, you brought up a good point, Alice and Ashley. I'm going to piggyback off of you because you definitely brought up a lot of good. I was listening, so we got to think about what you said. I'm now thinking about her interaction with Miss Vivica Fox differently. I'm thinking, whoa, that wasn't just for her buffooning herself for this maniac, but she definitely. It seemed that she was very aggressive because that show was a mixed race show. And it always was troubling to me that she was that aggressive with Vivica, and there was other people in that cast that she could have had her, could have been that mean lady or the mean girl, just to her Kenya stunts. And she didn't. I just was disappointed with her with that. But then also on Bravo, Kenya, thinking about what Ashley said, I'm going to use her namesake. I'm thinking about Potomac Ashley. She's also has a wound, but not with her mother, but maybe with her mother too, but with her father who didn't want to be bothered with her, closed door on her face. And she's also had a lot of difficulties for years over there with, even recently this year with, Wendy and Jazzy, the beautiful not Jazzy, but Kiana. She's always had difficulties. So when I think about what you said, Ashley, I think about Ashley too. She has that same pageant difficulties, exposing, mean, sneaky. I think Ashley's not as mean as some other characters on Bravo, but she definitely can be very sneaky and not really trustworthy. She doesn't. She's not a
Yeah.
girl's girl. She doesn't really build up wonderful relationships. It seems to be that she loves to build up. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry what the word is. She likes teams. She likes to be on a team with somebody. But I'm not sure if it's going to be a deep friendship. So yeah, I think that Kenya and her definitely have that in common.
Y'all talk about
That,
football head.
No, 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 no.
Oh, okay.
you
Remember,
know
she threw
something?
Kim's snacks in the. She threw. Speaking of Kim
Yeah,
Field, she threw her snacks in the water. Remember,
Ooh,
she.
yeah.
Hmm. And do you know why I think she did that? Just noticing a pattern here. Hyper Kenya pageant, hyper competitive against women. Kenya tends to go to women. She went after Kim Fields because they had a shared thing. They both did a little movies here or there, right? So it ain't enough room for two of us in the movies. Ah, gotta take you out.
no, no, no. She claimed that Kim Fields, weren't really nice to her, or when she had that one episode, it's Kyle's date to the wedding,
Well,
or
that's what she's told us.
yeah, living single. But ultimately, I think it falls in the aspect of Kim Fields has a long career. Her roller skates are in the Smithsonian. You know this woman from generation to generation to generation. Facts of Life, living single. She's produced now with the Upshaw.
In in
Produced,
in the in the acting world, right?
yeah,
And there were also jabs, a few jabs. I don't think Kenya made them, but I guess the point I just brought up Kim as one piece of it.
mm-hmm.
Kim, Kenya, acting. You're better than me. You have a better acting career than me. I've got to take you out. Kenya, Phaedra, Apollo. Oh, nice fine man, marriage that lasts. Got to take you out. Kenya, Nene. Nene's a top dog of the HOA franchise. Got to take you out. Kenya tends to strategically go after women and go low with women who are either like the top of their field, or she feels like this person might outshine me. Hyper competitive pageantry. in some way. I'm just noticing a little bit of a pattern with the people, and it was something about Portia being a youthful rising star during the buy ashy phase that I think Portia. Now, I'm not saying that those women that I'm
And
mentioning
we're
here were
seeing,
innocent.
and I feel we're seeing the same thing again with Brit Edie,
Bingo. Yes.
with that same clash. And it's like, like, I know at 42, I don't want to look like I'm getting into it with somebody 24. I wouldn't want
Mhm.
that look
But when you
because
hyper
I look
competitive,
like I'm hating.
when you
Yeah,
hyper competitive and you come from that pageantry world, you hyper competitive. You try to take out the person who can outshine you in that particular aspect by any means necessary. This little pattern that I've been noticing about all of Kenya's what's her name? Tanya Sam, really successful in her career. She was an IT lady and she brought the cookie lady on, and no one could understand why you going after Tanya.
Hmm.
She's so nice. Just notice all of Kenya's biggest rifts over the years, and notice that those are women that would have been the top dog and or could have outshined her in a particular related aspect.
I want to ask, because this has confused me deeply. Why would you put your business behind being a hoe?
Oop.
I would never come on a show and say your man was trying to flirt or talk like in any other woman capacity. I'm not doing it. Even if he still came up to me, like it was nasty. It was, it was very, your man ain't your man. And you think you gonna sell cookies with that?
Mm,
I'm
mm.
surprised it took 4 years for the store to shut down. I'm pissed because those cookies must have been good.
The cookie lady.
But
Yeah, I
the
was doing
cookie
her
lady
good.
was trifling.
Oh,
I was like, what kind
I'll
of I
I
guess any promotion is good promotion, but I
mm,
Wasn't she like she wasn't a black lady? Wasn't she like non-black? Oh, well, I don't want to be
I
offensive. I don't
she
think she was.
she looked in the words of my grandmother, she looked something.
Yeah.
I'll say this. This be my last thing to say. I gotta jump down and go do something. Kenya, the best thing you could have did after this situation, or just like looking at this as a whole, to have been able to just kept your job. Maybe production would have, been doing things to pick at you all season because they was upset about that Carlos King interview. All you had to do was say what Quad said to that lady, that young old new wife, the old squeaky man she used to be married to. Humans compare, we compare. We're always going to compare ourselves or something to another. You could have just thought of the whole situation of, this woman does not compete where she does not compare with me. So I don't really got to do nothing but sit back and be me. But obviously, that was not the case, and we are where we are. It's sad. She didn't even get a confessional. And I'm not even watching the show for real. I just see clips. Mm, 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 mm.
And it's this, it's so funny. Like we all like just got finished congratulating Garcelle on coming on and using the platform for what it's meant for and exiting on her own terms
Mhm.
gracefully. And now we see Kenya, and it's the exact opposite. Yo ass
Yes.
stayed too long. You ain't got planned to first to get off the show. You're still clawing to get back on. And I know productions like, girl, you've gonna be 56 when we filming again. Is that really what we want? Like, you really
Mm-hmm.
like, because the show is also a lot of going out drinking, shit that you doing. Like, I'm in my 40s and I ain't trying to be out drinking like them girls. You really trying to be out there? Like, I mean, I keep coming back to Erica Jane saying, you don't really want to be 60 doing this shit.
Well, okay, this is my last thing, and I'm definitely gonna get off. Thank you for letting me up. Maybe she thought she could pull a Karen. I mean, Karen is in her 60s hanging out with the girls, but then again, Karen is where she is right now.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna leave on that note.
Well, I'm going to drop down too, but I'm going to say, you know what? I agree with you, Alex. I think that for me, I think that the Atlanta ladies, the past and the present, are beautiful. I think they can go out and do stuff. But you, to your point, the reason I gave up on New York City Housewives before Ebony got there, because Ebony was not the downfall of that show, was because Ramona and them, they were out there drinking. They couldn't get to the bathroom on time. They were wearing diapers, and there was just a lot of stuff going on over there that I didn't want to see octogenarian senior citizen mean Trump supporting people. You understand? I didn't want to watch those lives. Those lives were not the things I would watch. So you can get too old and too nasty and too incontinent, honey, to be a yeah, yeah,
Oh
man.
my God, and too incontinent.
Too incontinent, honey. You need about
Oh, that was it. And on that note,
come on now.
I'm gonna drop down myself on my own show. All right, y'all. Thanks everybody for listening, and I'm gonna see y'all soon.